Hello and welcome to episode 103 of the Boot Nerds podcast. JayMike, what's up?
Life is pretty good in Denmark, my friend. Thank you. How's Canada?
Canada is nice and kind of warm. Warm for Canada standards, probably not warm for everywhere else, but I'm rocking shorts the last couple of days, so I'm a happy guy.
Oh, yeah. But you're that guy. We established that in the last episode. You're that guy who always rocks shorts, no matter the weather. So, yeah, we can't really, you can't measure things on you. Anyway. That's how it goes. But guys, today we have a bit of let's say a recurring thing in the boot world because there are a few things that are, that you can be sure of in life. And that is that you get born and you die and that adidas are going to release a ton of Accelerator remakes. And they have given us another one. This one called the Hyperlative or whatever you want to say, which is funny because it's the same colorway as the Superlative Predator Freak. So, hey. And, when I saw this for the first time, I was like, yeah, that can't be real. This is an edit. Someone did an edit. And, but it's very much real, and it's definitely bold. What was your first reaction?
I think that the colorway makes the Accelerator look much more modern than it otherwise would, at least in any of the other remakes that we've seen. It reminded me, at least my first thought when I saw them was not, oh, that's the same colorway as the new Predator Freak. I thought, oh, that kind of looks like the Addy Power from 2011. And maybe that's that's the boot nerd in me just not putting two and two together. But look, I don't hate them. I just think, I don't know who was asking for this. And I feel like we might be at a point where Addy is wearing out the Predator remake thing.
That is a bit of my, I'm not afraid about it because there's a lot of stuff to work with when it comes to Predator or remakes in general. And that's maybe the key word, is that maybe tone down on the Predator remakes, or at least the Accelerator remakes, and look into something else. I mean, there are so many boots that we can get, even in the Predator range, right? Pulses, power swerves, Addy powers, lots of stuff to talk about. And then obviously they could dive more into the whole F50 range that they've started doing more of, but there's a whole array of boots that they could look into. But as you said, I don't know who asked for them, and they feel a little bit unnecessary because, like we just had two Predator remakes in December and January.
I know, and here's my other kind of issue, and I feel like we might both have to take back some things that we've said in the past because back when Addy first started doing the Predator remakes, when the Predator line had actually been discontinued for that short period. It was really cool, but people were complaining that it was not the original. They were synthetic uppers. The elements weren't the same. It was too many differences, right? So when they first start remaking a 1-to-1 Accelerator upper with the new sole plate tooling and charging $350 or however many euros it ends up being,
it's the same.
It's a ridiculous amount of money. It's like we as boot nerds, I think, understood like, hey, they spent probably a lot of money to make a limited number of these things. And even at $350, they're probably not making a profit because of how few of them they made and how expensive it is to produce a boot like that in limited quantities. But now we've got like 12 different colorways of this boot. They're clearly just milking the whole setup work that was required to do the first one, but they're still charging us $350. I think if these were $250, maybe it's a little bit more, hey, I'm excited because this is actually an affordable product. But I think for a lot of people, this is probably a collector's item more so than a boot that a lot of guys are going to try to play in. And at $350 in a colorway that really has no significance to anything related to the Predator other than just the latest colorway, I think this one's going to be a hard sell, even though they do look good.
Yeah, and I don't even know if I feel they look that good. I mean, I don't know. You probably didn't because you don't watch my videos apparently, but as we established last time as well. But I just made a Predator tier list of all the remakes, and as I said, from a performance point of view, from a playing point of view, this is probably the best accelerator they've ever done, alongside the Eternal Class, because it has the tongue to hold it has the strap to hold the tongue down. Yeah. I just don't care for the colorway. I simply don't like it. So for me, it was somewhere in the middle of all the remakes. I understand where they want to go. I just don't think this was the right colorway to do it with. But personal taste is a funny thing. So maybe that's just me. But I'm just, 350 euros. We've talked about the opportunity that Adi would have had if they had actually made the Predator Classic a silo, a thing, and sold it for, let's say, 220, 250 euros. Because now the groundwork is there. Obviously, they don't have to work on the toolings because they already have that. Why not just introduce that, and then they can do as many colors as they want, or use the inline colors? But 350, that's too much, man, for me, for that to be a success.
It's a lot of money. At this point, if you're going to do one, I get it. If you're going to do 20, the price becomes a little bit of an issue for me.
Sure. But what if, let's play with the idea that they're actually going to continue dropping, hopefully not accelerators, but Predator remakes. What would you? I know you want to see a Power Swerve and an Adi Power, but what would you want to see in terms of model and colorway?
For me, one of my favorite Predators of all time is the Pulse. So I really like the silver Pulse David Beckham Dragon colorway. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love those. Yeah. I know the Pulse is probably not. It's the forgotten model within the classic Predators, I would say.
It was good, yeah.
But I really like those. They even did the blue one. I think it was one of the launch colorways in like the darker blue.
Oh, yeah.
I really think those were quite cool as well.
They were nice, the blue and silver ones, right? Mm-hmm. But that's the thing. The Pulse, I feel the Pulse was good, but I just never, I never loved it. It never became a part of my childhood to the point where it's a boot I remember. I'd rather see the Power Swerves, to be honest.
Power Swerve, I think, would make a lot of people happy. And I was actually surprised when they did Absolute not that long ago. But I think they turned out really good. And out of all the Pred remakes, that was probably the most wearable by today's standards. Held up the best.
Yeah, that or the Japan Blue Mania, which I feel was, when I did the tier list on the remakes, I actually held it in my hand and thought, I'm going to rock that for training. Because it feels, it's, the toe box is so low profile, whereas the other ones are they're pretty chunky. But you make a good point, which is, I don't know if you have seen my video. It's also early in Canada. But which would be your top pick out of all the Pred remakes so far? So basically, you've done tier lists, right? So you have S, which is like the OP super duper god tier, and then you have A, which is like the next best very good thing.
I think I would be focusing more on colorway because I feel like they're all variations of similar things. I really like the Japan Blue Mania. I think that was a great one. I'm also a sucker for the electricity colorway of the Accelerator.
Really?
I love that colorway. I don't know why. I'm such a big fan of that. I just think, because you know why, Jay? Because if you look back at all the boots that were available at that time, that one is just so out of place. It stands out so much. I like it.
Look, I get you. I never really took to, and I've gotten some stick off the internet already, actually, for putting this a tier below the OG colorway. They're the same boots. They came out basically at the same time in the summer of 2018, and I understand what it is, and it's a pretty iconic colorway, but I just never liked it. And it just dawned on me that back then the toe boxes were less pointy than they are today. Mm-hmm. It's a bit of a mess. Well, it is what it is. But okay, interesting. But we agree on the Japan Mania at least.
Yeah, Japan Mania for sure. And I also think if they're going to be doing all these remakes, and I know they did one a long time ago, back in 2015, I want to say it was. I'd like to see as true to the original remake of the OG Predator with the modern sole plate tooling. That would be really cool.
Oh yeah, that was Revenge Pack in 2014 with Hybrid Touch. The whole Revenge Pack was a bit of a train wreck, to be honest, in my opinion. But yeah, it would be interesting if they actually took like a modern approach to that.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I think that would be interesting. I don't know that people would actually want it, but I like the idea of it.
Yeah, and then of course we have the archives. Now, a lot has been said about the archives, and they are very, 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 very good, except for the colorway, which is a mess.
Yeah, not my favorite, to be honest with you.
But imagine if this had been like actual Predator colorways, black, white, and red. That would be S for me as well.
I really wish some variation of that was the current Predator, to be honest. Would have been cool.
Yeah, you know, that would actually... Yeah, they should just offer it. Again, Predator Classics range, Adidas, €250. You're welcome. We'll take 10%.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit. Yeah, this is the Porsche you're looking for, right?
Yeah. I'd love something like that. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, that's the one you're looking for. That was a bit of a shame. So where would you, if we're rating it out of, let's not go with the SR4U rating system because no one understands it anyway. Rating it out of 10, where we at?
Just for the complete lack of wow factor, I think I want to say 6, and I almost feel like that's generous because I just feel like it's at a point where
it's a good boot.
It's a good boot, but it's like, who really wanted this? Who cares?
But that's the thing, yeah. From like a hype point of view, for me, this is probably a 5 because I mean,
yeah, that's kind of almost generous if we're being honest.
Well, you know, I think it's a Predator Accelerator in a modern colorway. I think, you know, it will appeal to some people, but it just doesn't tickle me in the right places. From a performance point of view and a remake point of view, I think it deserves at least a 6 out of 10 overall for me.
Sure. Okay. I would like to see if they really want to do another Accelerator remake, which Adidas, if you're watching this, please don't. Just stop. Give it a break for a couple of years. But I think like something along the lines of a What the Predator concept, where every panel and every stripe was a different color taken from something like the archive, I think could be really cool. But you almost have even more opportunity with something like this because every piece of material is its own separate piece. So you could really play around with incorporating a bunch of really cool details. So,
but if
you're going to charge $350, you have it in the budget to make it happen.
But then again, if we look at what they did when they basically had the opportunity to do a What the Predator, and they did it properly because they actually used the OG elements and they made a meal of it with the colorway. I'm not sure if we're only talking colors on the panels and the elements.
I think so. Yeah,
that would be probably a wild boot.
It would look interesting, but at least it would be a boot that people would have an opinion on. I feel like this is one of those boots where people aren't even going to care to comment, you know?
Yeah, you might be right. And that's probably like when you're making hype products like this is supposed to be like, that's probably the last thing you want. The people just are going to shrug their shoulders and say,
Yeah, I feel like you're going to get a lot of scrolling past.
What if this had been, let's say, a Pulse or a Power Swerve? Would you have cared more? Or is it the colorway?
No, I would have cared a lot more because it's something we have not got yet. And I think at this point, people they view the Accelerator as kind of a football boot that nobody really wants to wear anymore. It's out of all the remakes they've really done, it's the bulkiest, it's the chunkiest. It's probably not the one that you want to play in regularly unless you're just a diehard fan specifically of the Predator Accelerator.
But if you are, would you then wear this? I mean, if you are a diehard Accelerator Predator fan in general, would you wear this? Because it's not really a Predator colorway or an Accelerator colorway, is it?
Yeah, I think if you really wanted a modern remake of an Accelerator, you probably bought the all black ones that just came out.
But that's the thing, right? And you know, people gave the Absolutes a pass because they looked like something. It wasn't a complete one-to-one remake of an original colorway, but it could have been. And, the Zinedine Zidane accelerators got a lot of stick for not being a very far cry from what we saw back then. I love them on the other hand, because they're gold, and the whole story behind them with how Zidane always wanted a pair of gold accelerators, but never got it.
Yeah.
He got more or less everything else, but that's not true. But he really wanted a pair of gold accelerators, and now he finally, they gave it to him. For that reason alone, and the fact that they look super cool, I actually rate them quite a lot. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just it's not that it's an ugly colorway. It's just completely uninspired.
Yes. And that is probably the harshest bit of critique you can get from Josh.
Yeah.
To the point where it's okay. Any other comments, Josh, on this?
No, just take a break, Adidas. Take a break. It's enough. I think we're over it. And I'm sure the comment section will reflect that.
Look, this is the Boot Nerds podcast. And, at least one half of the Boot Nerds podcast is literally not excited about it. I mean, if a boot nerd is not excited about this, then why on earth would a regular football player even be remotely? That's not a good sign, man. Look, I love and I appreciate. I gotta put it out there. I appreciate what Adidas are doing with the remakes, because I feel like it's a little bit of like fan service. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they're doing it for us because we've been asking for a long, long time, and obviously it's a commercial thing. They sell a lot of boots, blah blah blah. But they do it for us because we've been asking, and the fan base has been buying the boots, so it's turned into a business for them. I really like that, and I want it to continue. I just don't want them to cannibalize that whole remake business by overdoing it with one model. Right now, it's the Accelerator. So for the sake of like keeping it fresh and having it make sense from a business point of view to do remakes, I'd probably look to something else in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
okay.
But leave your opinions on it down below in the comments, because I'm curious what everyone in general tends to think about them.
Absolutely. And with that said, of course, if you have any comments or questions, especially questions, leave them in the comment section right down below, and we're going to pick them up for the Q&A section, which we're going to move into in a second. But not before we've just mentioned that if you enjoy the Boot Nerds podcast and the content and our completely honest opinions, as you can clearly hear Josh coming out with, leave us a like on the video. We'll really appreciate it. Of course, I'm also honest. I just don't hate this as much. As Josh. And so questions. Kelby9 discussing the future Z creativity asked, so is Neymar really going to wear these boots for one game and one game only? And I guess that's the message that we've had. I would say though, with the popularity of those boots, and they've been really popular, I would make him wear them for more games, just to create hype, basically. I mean, they're sold out everywhere, so I mean, why would he wear them? You can't buy them, but just from a brand hype perspective, I would definitely make him wear them.
That's what I'm saying. I think brand hype is really important, and I think there's something to be said about not being able to get a product that you really want, and that drawing you to a brand in general, right? When things are always readily available, that I think the feeling of exclusivity is something that a lot of people, regardless of whether or not they think they want it, it is what they want. And I mean, the fact that they're sold out and you can't get them, as long as people are searching for Neymar's Puma boots, that's probably a good thing for Puma.
Oh, I definitely agree. And we see now that he has the ability, when they get the right product, they get the right timing, he has the ability to build hype for the brand. And I think that it would be a little bit of it's just low-hanging fruit at this point. That they go out and say, okay, people are raving about this boot, let's give him a few more matches in them, because also it looks smashing with that fourth kit of theirs. So, I would just make him use it, to be honest. It kind of ties into a question from Columnar Leader Gaming, however you say that. Why do you guys think the Puma Future Set creativity was so limited in its release? The last two colorways were very bland, and this is a color a lot of people would want to buy but can't because it's sold out everywhere. Seems like a weird move from Puma. I don't know your thoughts on this, but my first reaction when I read the question was maybe Puma didn't realize that it was going to be so popular. And maybe they thought that, okay, maybe this is a bit of a bold move, and it is very out there. So I don't know if they didn't expect this sort of hype, or if they expected that sort of hype and they said, okay, just like you mentioned, let's make it super desirable and let's make a lot of people miss out because they're not evil, but create the hype around the product, which then spills over into the inline colorway of the Future Set.
Yeah, I think the whole selling out and limited quantity thing was just poor communication on Puma's part about what this release was. Because the one thing that I was surprised about is that when it showed up, it came in that gray Puma box, which is the only one they only use that for limited releases.
Yeah.
It's not in the normal red one. So it was in fact a limited release, even though none of the information that Puma was putting out suggested that it was going to be limited. And while it was branded kind of as a Neymar signature, it doesn't have Neymar's logo anywhere on it. So I think that this was one of those like pre-planned limited releases. And because Neymar is now a part of the brand, they just, hey, we might as well use
Gave it to Neymar, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, again, I think had they known, I really feel like this was one of those boots that was planned before Neymar was even in the picture. And had they known Neymar was going to be used for the launch of this colorway, they probably would have produced a little bit more.
Probably, yeah. It is what it is. And I think, yeah, you're making a good point. I absolutely agree, actually. Nothing more to say there. Justin Wu, why do big brands make certain models, let's say, run half a size small or large? Is it intentional or not? And that is a very, very good question, Josh. And I have been asking myself that question for the better part of, 15 years? Because finding your right size, even within brands, is so difficult and can be a really, really tough job unless you try the boots on. And when the Phantom GTs came out, I've always been a US 7 in Nike, always. But I'm kind of stuck in between a US 6.5, which is definitely too small, and then a US 7, which is a little bit like quarter of a size too big for me in the length, which is super annoying. And it was the same with the Vapor 8s and 9s back in the day, ran a quarter of a size long. Just hated it. That's such a bad place to be stuck in between sizes, right? And yeah, I don't know, man. Of course, it's because it's got to do with the last they use and they're different and all that stuff. But I don't get it, man. I don't get it. It's a really tricky thing, and I don't think anybody truly has the answer to that, because somebody or a group of people are ultimately making these decisions internally within each of these brands for each of these products. So I don't think that they're doing it on purpose. No.
And I think that part of the issue is there really is no standardized shoe sizing method. Every country seems to want to have their own shoe sizing system for whatever reason. I don't know why. It's like national pride to have your own sizing system for feet. I don't get that.
And one makes even less sense than the other.
And there's the problem too is there's really no baseline. Right? So it's kind of a free for all in terms of what people are going to do.
And how do you measure the size? If you take like a US 7 Phantom GT and a US 7 Mercurial, and they're both supposed to be a Japan 250, so 250 millimeters long. But I mean, one of them I haven't measured, so I don't know the exact numbers. But one of them is clearly longer than the other, or shorter than 250 millimeters. Like it's not possible. And so do you measure on the outside or I don't know how you measure that. So
like if you really think about it, if you had to measure the length of like 10 different football boots all in the same size,
sure,
the insole, I guess, would be kind of one way of looking at it. But then when you place your foot in the boot, you have to account for the potential compression and squish of the heel liner and how much space that's going to free up for you. And then how the upper at the toe box kind of maybe pulls itself down with the weight of your foot and depending on the shape of your foot and all this other stuff. It's a really difficult thing to truly measure and have, like, just the concept of making a shoe that's going to fit as many people as possible just sounds like a daunting task.
Yeah, I agree. It's like someone need to fix the size. Just do like the Japanese, go with centimeters, millimeters. It's super easy to understand.
Yeah, I feel like that would go a long way for if Nike, Adi, or Puma, or really any major football boot brand came out with a proper measuring system where you could get something that you have in your house to measure the exact size, put your foot on it, see exactly how it fits, and then order that size with confidence, especially given the prevalence of ordering online these days. I think that could be really big for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's never going to change because the shoe industry in general is so big, right? But if there was just one universal standardized system that you just know, okay, I'm a size US 7 or a Japanese size 250 in everything. And there is no like deviation from that. It would make it so much easier. I know I'm like, that's a stupid, naive hope, but yeah, make it happen, guys. And for that, we'll take 20% because it's 20%. A brilliant idea. It's a brilliant idea. And we're going to be very rich. So please make us rich. A question here from Jack Yang, probably mostly from me. Jay, why is the Unisport Uncut and Q&A series discontinued? Been 2 years. Would love to have it back. And there's a very simple reason for that, and that is that people didn't really want to watch it. You did, Jack, and thanks for being a loyal supporter, but there wasn't really much interest around it at the end, so we just figured, let's try something else. And that's the thing when you make content, right? You wanna hit and please as many people as possible with different formats. And when formats don't really gather that much interest anymore, maybe it's just time to try something else. So is it coming back in the future? Who knows? Maybe we're going to revisit the idea again. But on the other hand, I'm kind of getting an outlet with the whole Q&A uncut section in the Bootnerds podcast now. So yeah. If you want to listen to me ramble on for, now an hour, well, this is the place.
Yeah, but you know what? I think it's a good question because a lot of people are interested in the whole YouTube content creation process.
Sure.
And I think anybody who's creating content is going to have a specific type of video that people really like and is popular for a little while, but then whether the audience seems to drop off a little bit or you as the creator kind of like, oh, you know what, I'm getting a little bit bored of this. It's not as fun for me anymore. Sometimes you just have to change things up.
Sure.
It's like your favorite TV show that eventually ends.
Yeah.
You don't want it to end, but you know what? Maybe it was best that it did.
And let's be honest, one day the Bootnerds podcast is going to end. I mean, we're going to be hard to get rid of because after all, we've done 110 episodes, but that's just the way it goes. I mean, TV shows end. And yeah, it had run its course. So
you know what doesn't end though, Jay?
What doesn't end?
The Predator Accelerator. It will live on forever.
I should have seen that coming. I'm a dad now. That's a perfect dad joke. I should have seen it coming. Oh, well in. Also from MWF, since Joe said he's a subpar freestyler, I'm paraphrasing, his name for the next podcast, this podcast should be PWJ.
Oh, that's good.
There you go. Done.
That's great.
Consider it done. Right. We also have one here from H. Mazzy. I'm pleased these other brands, speaking of New Balance, they're probably not too happy about that. These other brands don't get as much attention. It means that the top of the line boots they produce get reduced very quickly and more people can afford them. And I guess that's one way of looking at things. But if that trend continues, they're going to stop making boots eventually. I'm interested to hear, H. Massey, which other brands fall into the other category?
Yeah.
That New Balance, Umbro, I had this thing. Do you have, we were talking about sizing, and I'm sorry for just jumping straight back in it. Do you have that Lotto boot, the yellow one? Is it the Maestro something that was completely screwed up in terms of sizing?
Like, the massive one. I think I have them right here. This one.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. That was like
these massive.
Like not but like 2 sizes too big or something.
Like huge. Like these are a 9.5. I want to say they fit like a 10.5. Like they're just. I was so stunned when I put them on. I had to check. I checked the size tags. I'm like, this can't be right. There has to be a mistake here.
Right.
And Diadora is pretty famous for really big sizing.
What on earth is up? I got the not the DDNAs, those are old. I wish they brought those back, by the way. They were brilliant. What's it called? The Brazil Elites. The one with the like neoprene like tongue, and it feels like an awesome boot. Decent price as well, but the sizing's all off. So the pair I have, it's too big for me. It's a bit of a shame. Anyways, I just wanted to bring that up now. I thought of it. We also have one question here from Daniel Caricato. I think they should have focused on the wide fit category, probably speaking about New Balance, which is funny because you made a video about that the other day. See, I watch your videos. You should...
Wait, did I make a video about that? I think I made an Instagram post.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay, we're even now. We're even. We both do not consume each other's content as frequently as we should. Deal? Can we agree on that? Virtual handshake.
We agree on that. That was very embarrassing. I saw your Instagram post and assumed you made a video, and I thought that's a free pass.
No.
It wasn't. Okay, that was very... Good thing I'm editing this video. Anyways, I think they should have focused on the wide fit category. There's so much demand out there for a wide fit speed boot. I know it's generally known that Puma Ultras is good for wide feet, but could New Balance not market their speed boot exclusively for wide feet human beings? And I think there's a point to that, but you're just going to alienate so many people who don't have wide feet or don't consider themselves to have wide feet that it might be a very, very, very niche thing. And is it sexy to have a wide-fitting speed boot? Well,
no.
Someone should make a video on it then that the Boot Nerds podcast members would totally not watch.
Yes.
We don't watch each other.
At least one of
Who
them.
are we, man?
But I don't think advertising wide fit exclusively would be a good thing. But I do think New Balance needs to do a much better job of making people aware that they have a wide fit option, because that's something that they do exclusively compared to every other brand. And the video / Instagram post that Jay is referring to, I was talking about the Nike Mercurial series, where it's far and away the most popular football boot on the market, especially the top end price point. And I think they do miss out on a lot of sales from people that do have wider feet and love the Mercurial, but they just don't fit in them. So if they could keep the current Mercurial in the way that it fits and then also offer a wide fit variant alongside it, like think about how many people that aren't wearing Mercurials would jump ship because they now have that option that's going to fit them properly. They could probably, 70% of the market at the top end price point they could probably take. I think it could be a very significant chunk.
Oh, you're right. And they would just take everything away from the Ultras as well. I mean, it would be very, very, very dangerous.
Like,
for everyone else.
Here's a bold thing to say. I would bet that if Nike right now, they kill all their top end boots and they offer a regular and a wide fit Mercurial, and that's it. No Tiempo, no Phantom GT. I think they sell more boots with just 2 width variations of the Mercurial than they do with their current lineup of 3 top end models.
Let me add to that bold claim and say, if they do that, but make the Superfly knit and the Vapor synthetic, they're going to completely take over.
Yeah, they would only need a Vapor and a Superfly in 2 width variations, and I think they could dominate the entire top end football boot industry.
It's a good thing we have this on record, because we're going to say the Nike, you're welcome. We'll take 10% as per the usual. Josh, I know you have a good lawyer, so let's see what happens. We're going to be very, very, very rich next year. That would be, I think you're not wrong. I mean, there's always Adidas are still in the equation with the X Ghosted, but you're right. They would be a very, very dominant force with that lineup still. Just the Mercurial is it's just so strong, right?
Yeah, people love Mercurials.
Absolutely. Blah, 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 blah. We don't have any more like really in-depth questions apart from, of course, JSW77 saying hoodie and shorts are the GOAT. England has pretty much the perfect weather for it. See, I don't get that. We have one final question here from Tom. Feel like New Balance is trying to break into oversaturated market, meaning J18 story. This is not going well for me today. They're trying to break into an oversaturated market, so British mainland Europe, while the Nordic American market is almost completely ignored. If a brand would create a quality AG stud pattern like Nike's AGR and sell them for around 200 euros with supply in the Nordics and America, where AG pitches are the most common surface to play on, they'd probably gain loads of traction. Issue is currently that your only available options are the Adidas AGFG and Nike's AG, but even then, gaps are open in the market due to low supply of Nike's AG, plus Merck's taking a step back. Yeah, you've talked about this before. And Adidas moving towards more FG-only sole plates on the Pred and X. New Balance is an American company. That's a fair point from Tom.
Yeah. Here's where I would pick that plan apart a little bit. I think that stores that are currently carrying New Balance product across the world, at least when you're talking about football boots, they're bringing in relatively limited quantities as it is because it doesn't have a good track record of selling through. They almost know that they're going to have to discount the product as per the previous question in order to sell them at any point at all. So when you have a product line that isn't selling all that well and you're saying, hey, these 1,000 stores that are carrying my New Balance football boots, would you also like to order some of these AG boots to go along with the FG ones that have not been selling for the last several years? I'm not sure that there would be that many takers from the retailers. Why don't you just
screw the FG boots? Honestly, and we had a discussion on a Unisport live session the other day, and I was almost gonna say, why don't the brands just kill the FG boots? Why don't brands make AG boots like the main thing? Because I don't know.
Yeah,
and maybe it's just Denmark, right? But it's been a while since I've played on an FG pitch. We only play on AG pitches these days, even when the weather's good, because there are just so many of them, and I guess more and more popping up over the world. I guess it's the same in the States. Why would you have so many FG boots? Make AG a priority. Make it the standard.
Yeah, I think it really does depend on where you live.
You're right.
But I think there's an obstacle for the retailers to even consider ordering more New Balance boots than they already are.
Yeah. But that again, New Balance, they need an injection from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Why not just say, okay, like Tom suggested, we're going to own the AG market. We're going to make the most killer, kick-ass AG plate out there, and it's going to be our main option. Then the FG boot is going to take the back seat. I mean, yeah. I'd consider it. Why not? It's worth a shot, right? A bit of an Hail Mary pass, but
I think you're right. I think in general, a lot of these brands that aren't Nike, Adidas, and Puma, because they don't have the marketing budget and they don't have the endorsement deals that these brands have, it's always kind of been interesting to see how they still insist on trying to market their products the same way, but always at a disadvantage, you know? Like what does it hurt to try something different that's also going to be less expensive for them in the long term?
And that's the thing. And I know you can't put it like that because they sell boots, but you can't sell less than no boots. So if they're not selling much and they're going to sell boots, whether they're AG or FG, right? It's not going to be risk-free, but why not give it a go?
Yeah. At the very least, you're going to have people looking at your product because it'll be legitimately different.
Yeah.
Because I think right now people look at other brands that aren't the big three and say, oh, it's just some variation of what the big three are making for the same amount of money or more. Why would I buy that?
Yeah, but that's the thing. You don't want to compete with the big brands on their turf. You want to go into new turf by doing turf shoes.
Turf jokes.
Yeah, okay. I think on that absolutely terrible dad joke, it's time that we end the Boot Nerds podcast. I have a few Josh videos to go and watch, so I'm not gonna completely embarrass completely go and embarrass myself in the next episode of the Boot Nerds podcast. But if you have any questions or just want to laugh at my me being stupid. Leave everything in the comment section right down below. Make sure to like the video if you had a good time. Of course, if you want to listen to the podcasts audio only, they're over on Spotify and Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. You can find the link to that on bootnerds.com. And with those words, Josh, I've been JayMike, and I approve this message, except for the fact that I watch Josh's videos because I clearly don't. Cheerio.
See ya. Thanks.